20 reasons why we should abolish nuclear weapons, by ChatGPT. But, they are really quite good. So the first one is human survival. When there would be a nuclear war, and a full-blown nuclear war, estimations are that like 360 million people are going to die immediately, and then 5 billion people are dying from starvation, and then likely the rest is going to die from all these radiological effects. So like society and human race actually come to an end. So getting rid of nuclear weapons means that the human race has actually much higher chance of survival, no? That we don't find any other way to kill each other completely. But, this is one of the main reasons nuclear weapons are there, and we can completely destroy the human race. You don't have to be afraid of aliens coming to Earth like in Independence Day. We can just do this completely on our own really quickly. So that's like reason number one. So number two, global health risk. Well, if you have a normal weapon, it's just like blowing up things in the area, and it's like, not really clean, but, it doesn't really have much other effects. But if you use a nuclear weapon, you have all this radioactive fallout. This explosion produces all kinds of radiological elements which are radiating, and they are harmful. And together with dirt and so on, it's going to be blown up in the sky, and it's going to come down somewhere else. This is called fallout. And this kind of stuff is really nasty. It can also go inside of your body. The radiation can kill you from the outside, from the inside. It's really bad. So there's all kinds of stuff like birth defects, cancer, gene mutations. And this also means in a limited scale, when not all of the nuclear warheads are used. Of course, we have number three, environmental destruction. Okay, if you take a bomb, it's going to make a crater. If you take lots of bombs, you will have a lot of craters. And maybe you have seen in Ukraine, where the countryside is like completely devastated and there's all these craters. But, you can just really level this again and, could start harvesting crops again there in this area. It's not nice, and you have to get rid of all this stuff, but not really that bad. But here we have really destruction on practically a nuclear wasteland, which you can't really use anymore. And large areas of land will be uninhabitable. It's also one reason why nuclear weapons don't really make sense at all in a war, because, you defend your own country, you're going to throw nuclear weapons on your own country? No, it's really stupid. Huh? You're fighting a war and then you're destroying your own countryside? No, that's one of the most reasons why they're completely useless. So, nuclear war makes really large areas uninhabitable and has really lots of environmental destruction, really bad. Then we have nuclear winter. There's this bomb is really big. It's throwing up lots of dirt in the atmosphere, really high. And there's a lot of dirt sucked up. It really depends on how high if the explosion is on the ground or higher up or so on. But normal, there would be lots of stuff, lots of dirt and dust going up into the higher atmosphere. And if you do this enough, then the whole upper cloud layer is blocked, and no sun is going to come anymore to our planet. It's going to get really cold. That's called nuclear winter. Depending on how much of that stuff has been used, the temperature on the Earth can drop by 10 degrees. They are talking right now about global warming over more or less 100 plus years. We have achieved a global warming of 1.5 degrees centigrade. Here we are talking about between 7 and 10 degrees over the whole Earth. In some areas it's even more drastic, within month and year. So it's really going to get really cold really fast, and that's sunlight is blocked, and global food production is going to be down because crops aren't growing. And also then crops aren't growing and plants aren't growing, animals are dying, so global food production is going down as well. It's not really going to be nice. Then, of course, number 5, economic cost. We have, the maintenance and modernization of all these nuclear weapon systems is costing billions. There's reports out there how much the stuff is actually costing the United States, and the estimations are like 55 to 75 billion US dollars per year. But this is only covering like the base thing. There's now the overhead of the DoD and then other things like, because you have to defend yourself. So like there is some estimations out there what the weapon system itself costs, but all the other stuff not. So you can, this report is coming up with a figure of 750 billion US dollars over 1 decade. And that is last year's figures, 2023. So it's probably likely that it's already increased again due to inflation. But, you have to add like overhead from the DoD and other stuff like, the defense and proliferation. So there's like lots and lots of stuff which is not included in the figure. Read this report, you find out, it's, make a rough estimate that like, you could say it's probably per year over the next decade, 100 billion US dollars for the weapon system, just to have it, to modernize it, all that kind of stuff as well there. So it's really, really costly. And that's why, for example, President Trump could say, hey, it's a useless weapon system. We are spending so much money on it. We could use that money somewhere else in a much better way. And also free all the talent, all the people who are working in this industry for such a useless thing. So then we have number 6, moral and ethical concerns. Well, why do we have these weapons? Because, they were invented 80 years ago. And at that time, it was quite fancy to just completely level a whole city and kill lots of people. Yeah. So that was done in Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and some other conventional raids in Japan as well. So like thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s of people killed in one go. Yeah. So this is something what has been has fallen out of. It's not on vogue anymore. Really, also we see this in the war right now here in Ukraine. That means there is still, the civilian population is going to suffer in a war, but destroying like a whole city, like you throw a nuke on Kiev and kill millions of civilians. That's really possible that's what the design of a nuclear weapon is. You have something which makes a really big bang and kills everybody there. Yeah? Okay, so then we have number 7, risk of accidental launch. Yeah, that's really a big one because, if actually we just had these weapons and they are just stored away in certain areas and we never ever use them because, they are useless and we just store them underground in like we store our nuclear waste, yeah. But here we have like malfunctions, and there have been several incidents where we were really close and only some nice people, and there some Russian people really deserve much attention here, because like in the Cuba crisis, it is said that there were like 3 officers on board of a submarine. And they were discussing to use a nuclear torpedo. And one of the officers actually didn't agree, so they didn't fire that torpedo, which might have started a nuclear war because tensions were really high. Or there was another incident where a system in the USSR showed that, warheads coming in, but this guy should have, activated their own missiles, but he didn't, because said, look, it's everything is like really not, the world is like operating normal. Why should the Americans just start a war with us right now? And in the end, it was, that sunlight or some sensor didn't really work well. Yeah, so it was a technical malfunction which was bringing the world really to the brink of disaster. And thank you very much to that person. I think you can look him up in Wikipedia. The world was saved from nuclear annihilation. And we don't know how often that happens and how many people did something similar. but at least these are quite some known incidents where the world was really close to nuclear disaster by accident. So, really stupid, no, accidental launch of something like this, And okay, let's go to number 8. Incentive for an arms race. Yeah, we have seen this in the Cold War because right now we have like 12,000 nuclear weapons on the planet. And there had been like around, I think the maximum was like 70,000 nuclear weapons with a massive destructive power had been there. And that was like the arms race. You could already, like US and USSR, you could already kill the other one over and over, but you still was producing more and more of the stuff, which was like, you can blow up the other country completely, so why produce even more? Well, and that could happen again. Looks like most people, they're not really going in that direction right now, but this is like number 8. Then we have number 9, terrorist threat. Some of the countries which have nuclear weapons are not really well known for being, the safest places and so on. Like we have the US and Russia, which are the biggest one. Then it's China, but then we have like North Korea, Iran, Pakistan, and India, and it's not like some of these names. It's not like, oh yeah, well, they are the safest countries on earth, and there wouldn't be any chance for any like terrorist group who wants to get a nuclear weapon to get one of those. Yeah. And if there are no nuclear weapons lying around, terrorists can't take them and take them over. So, terrorist threat. Global security. Well, the world is going to become a much safer place if we can't blow us up in this way. We can still really nicely kill each other with conventional weapons. We see this in Ukraine right now. So we don't really need all the nuclear weapons. So then preventing future wars. Well, if we don't have nuclear weapons, we don't have nuclear wars. That's quite clear. Legal and treaty obligations. Well, there are treaties that countries signed that it's a non-proliferation treaty. That means countries have signed, no, we don't want to have nuclear weapons on our own. We are not building them, and so on. And of course, if everybody doesn't have them, it makes things much easier because, like, let's say the United States and Russia, if they're both, and China, if these big three agree, no, we don't want to have nuclear weapons on the planet, they have a really much an influence on everybody in the world practically to say, hey, you don't got your nuclear weapons. Imagine these big three and then somebody starting his own nuclear weapons program somewhere. And if these big three agree, no, we don't want to have that guy getting nuclear weapons, they were going to send something in, and that country and that nuclear weapons program will be toast. Because to produce nuclear weapons, it's quite complicated. You don't do this in your backyard. You need all these centrifuges and stuff to get the material. Okay, so if the big three actually would agree on something, that would be really a big factor. Number 13, psychological stress and fear. Well, when I was young, I lived in a world, and that was in the 80s in Germany. We knew we were battlefield for World War III. And we asked ourselves in school, hey, what are we going to do when we see these mushroom clouds starting on the horizon? Because we knew that we are targets in our city. We had, like, in my hometown, there was like Bayer industry, and there was like also a Bayer research facility. So at least, there you would have used 2 nuclear weapons, one for the industry and one for the... So there were at least 2 nuclear weapons, and then there was also some military barracks. So maybe 2 or 3 warheads were directed to my hometown. So we were pretty sure that if there's a nuclear war going to start, we are just going to be toast. And this is something which is coming into your psychology. Yeah? You're like thinking, if you think, oh, tomorrow can be the end, yeah, giving you some stress. And factors, depression, whatever. Yeah, so it makes life a little bit simpler. Of course, people will find other ways to have their stress, but at least that kind of stress would be gone because you don't have to fear that the world is going to end any moment. So, and then now we have a big one, limited military usefulness. Well, nowadays, the weapon system as a whole isn't really useful anymore because we don't really want to flatten the whole city. That has been it's not on vogue anymore. It's not what we do anymore in the military. We haven't seen this in all the conflicts. Of course, the problem in the 40s and 50s was if you want to try to bomb like a city or you want to hit a target, you had to send hundreds or thousands of bombers to actually bomb something. Maybe you remember some of the videos of the, Desert Storm wars in Iraq when the bombs were precisely hitting bridges on buildings, and there was like an aircraft delivering one single bomb, delivering it to the target, laser guided. Yeah? You see these videos, and then the bomb hits, and that building is gone. Yeah, or there's like bunker busting bombs where you could actually program them, and they count how many layers of concrete they are going to hit. So they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I'm now in level 6. Here I want to go off. That's possible. And we can, with the technology today, even with laser guided, you can hit really small targets like windows. Taking GPS can be jammed, but you can, use GPS plus automatic target recognition and other factors like optical. You just can, with technology today, you can really very, very precisely deliver a warhead, a bomb, to a target. So the more precisely you send something, the smaller the boom is to destroy something. So if you have like a bridge, there was this bridge in the United States which collapsed where there was this, this big container ship, crashed into it. You see that if you hit such a structure at the right place, like you destroy one foundation of that such bridge, it's going to collapse. The whole thing collapsed. You don't need much if you find the right place. So if you make something precise, you need a small boom. The problem in the 40s and 50s was they couldn't even hit a whole city. When they bombed read Nagasaki and read Hiroshima, when they tried to hit that city, they were off like several kilometers by the time. They're kilometers, for you, it's like a mile plus. Yeah? So it was like really long distance. They were not hitting the target. A city, they couldn't really, yeah. So, and that means, they deliver something in the 40s and 50s. In that time, you needed really a big boom to destroy it. If you can really precisely deliver stuff, it's much simpler. So that's why military usefulness. Yeah, and of course, you destroy like a whole area, and then you can't go there because it's full of radiation and fallout, and you just made it useless. So even in a war like Ukraine, you want to conquer this country, you want to get this countryside, you also want to conquer the people there. If you just throw nukes on it, nobody's in there. You can just go and claim it, but it's like a wasteland. It's like not worth anything. So very limited usefulness, and we haven't seen. Thankful that nuclear weapons are used, but there wouldn't really be any advantage of other than destroying a whole city. So then number 15, negative diplomatic relations. Okay, that's also one. If you actually use a nuclear weapon, that will have a big effect. But here it's more like, okay, one side has nuclear weapons, the other one has not nuclear weapons, and that's going to make really in diplomatic relations going to make some stress. Yeah? Number 16, dehumanization of war. Well, now, of course, if you can just target a whole city, kill millions of people, you are dehumanizing war and human life. Injustice to future generations. Well, there won't be any future generation when there is a full-blown nuclear war. No? Damage to international reputation. Then we have number 19, inequality among nations. Yeah, we had this. And hope for a better world. Yeah, that's really the thing. If we don't have nuclear weapons, the whole thing will be much simpler. So these are the 20 reasons ChatGPT came up with. And I'm going to make another video really about what I think are compelling reasons also, or the most compelling reasons why we should get rid of nuclear weapons. So what can you do? By the way, go to zero-nukes.net and register. And you can, of course, do also a similar video like this one and publish it. And then we are also putting you on the list. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, follow, subscribe, and so on. And follow the channel. Thank you very much.